Hi, I'm Tom DeJano, the new marketing manager for economics. In this Prezi, I'm going to show you why Goolsbee-Levitt-Syverson is the ideal book for your instructors to teach the intermediate microeconomics course. And it's a big course. After principles, this is the largest undergraduate econ course and a really important one for many business majors. This course presents some challenges for both instructors and students. It's a course in theory, so as you'd expect, it can be a bit difficult and sometimes abstract for students. And to succeed in the course, students really have to work through the problems and really do the math. If they do this, the effort can be worth it. A lot of students fall in love with econ in this course. But for others, they reach the limit of their capabilities. It doesn't help that algebra can sometimes make the material a bit tedious, whereas calculus can really make it easier, and for many, a lot more fun. Instructors teaching the course with just an algebra prereq, they're sometimes challenged. They don't want to make the math to sap the motivation of the students that struggle with it, and they don't want to lose the students with calc who get frustrated with the limitations of algebra. On the other hand, this is the canon of economics. Nobody's really going to disagree with what's being covered, so the course doesn't have a lot of the politics associated with it like the principles course sometimes can. This is really great for you since all three authors, they already have a ton of recognition with micro professors. Goolsbee is an economic advisor to Obama, Levitt is Freakonomics, and as they both say, Syverson, he knows a bit about everything. In a lot of ways, this is an easier sell than walking into a principal's call. Plus, you have no base here, so it's all upside. So what's the course all about? Intermediate microeconomics, it's basically about showing students how economic theory can actually be used in practical ways. In order to do so, the course tends to include a lot of contemporary examples, as well as having students work through math in order to utilize economic tools. So, if all books cover the same amount of material and present the same amount of tools, what makes Goolsbee-Levitt-Syverson so special? Well, in a word, it's actually useful. Most other books in the market, they fall short in terms of teaching students how to apply economic tools in problem solving. So instead of simply displaying formulas, putting them on a page, and expecting students to make the link to theory, Goolsbee-Levitt-Syverson goes further than any other book in guiding students step by step through the process of problem solving using these figured out boxes. These are especially important since they prepare students for the problems that they'll solve at the end of the chapter. No other book does this. Students' exposure to this process, it really allows for economic problem solving to become an intuitive process. Text helps them do better in their homework, and in turn, they do better in class. So one of the more important developments in microeconomics over the past 20 years or so is the shift towards empirics. What's empirics? It's using actual numbers and data to test if and how economic theories actually work. This isn't really important for intermediate micro because most of the books in the market, they still reflect how their authors were taught back in grad school, back before computers made this shift towards empirics possible. Goolsbee-Levitt-Syverson, on the other hand, was conceived and written within just the last 5 years by an author team trained from the start to use empirical data in their research. Students get it. They easily recognize the practicality and application of the material being presented to them when it's really borne out by real-world data and numbers. The author specifically designed the book with features such as the theory and data boxes, as well as the application boxes, both because they recognize the importance of this from their day-to-day undergraduate classes, and because they themselves use empirical data to conduct their own research. So another aspect of Goolsbee-Levitt-Syverson that makes it stand out from other books are the examples it uses. This sounds really simple, but in truth, many of the examples in other books, they're just not updated from revision to revision. They fail to show the application of economic theory because they're dated. Students have a hard time relating to them. College students, they don't really care what aluminum smelting was like back in 1984. So this is where Goolsbee-Levitt-Syverson, they have an ace in the hole. Stephen Levitt, he's the author of the hugely popular Freakonomics, which has spawned not only the sequel, Super Freakonomics, but a podcast, a weekly radio show, whole bunch of stuff. For many students, Freakonomics was really their first exposure to economics, and Stephen Levitt, he uses the same type of unique examples and the perspective that made his trade book so successful. These examples, they're not just boxed off and segregated from the narrative like they are in pretty much every other book, but they're integrated and continually referenced throughout. So as I mentioned before, math coverage is really important in intermediate micro, and it's the one thing you'll actually see a lot of variation in the coverage. Some professors, they'll fully integrate calculus into their courses, some may use it to a lesser extent, and some may just kind of pass by it at all and pretty much rely on algebraic formulas. One of the really great things about Goolsbee-Levitt-Syverson is that its math coverage is presented in a way that is flexible enough to satisfy anyone. Calculus is integrated into the presentation of theory, practice, and application through the appendices both in the book and online. For those who want to use some calculus, the basics are covered in the book's appendices. For those who want complete coverage, the online appendices, they go into further depth. Those who don't want to cover calc at all, they just skip the appendices. The authors recognize that math can be a huge stumbling block for students taking this course, so they've actually carried the same conversational tone over from the text to the calculus appendices. Along with the figure it out feature that I mentioned before, not only does Goolsbee-Levitt-Syverson have the most versatile math coverage, it's got something for everyone, but it offers the most student support in this area as well. So last but not least, I don't want you guys to forget that Goolsbee has Econ Portal. A growing number of intermediate micro professors are starting to look towards homework systems and technology in general to really help students use empiric data. In addition to an exciting new first edition, you can now show them a learning system that's more stable and has better support than any competitive product out there. Most of these instructors will have never seen Econ Portal before, so your key features to demo are the graphing tool, learning curve, and for the first time, we've got animated e-figures.
Indifference curves are all about trade-offs. How much of one good a consumer will give up to get a little bit more of another good. If Sarah is deciding between socks and t-shirts, then this trade-off will tell us how.
These short guided tutorials are embedded in the Goolsbee ebook, and they're going to walk students through some of the finer points of graphs as they read the book. So remember, Goolsbee-Levitt-Syverson is the most practical toolkit for economic analysis in intermediate microeconomics. It's more empirical, it's got better student support, more flexible math, and it's more up to date in its examples than any other book out there. It's all upside from here.